All righty, it is 7:07. So why don't we go ahead and get started? First of all, welcome to City Hall. How many of you, for you, is this your first time to City Hall? Excellent. I was hoping to see no hands. You guys are batting the thousands. Oh, there's one hand? Okay, well, welcome to City Hall. We'll make sure that you get a tour, not tonight, but when you come back. Hopefully you'll come back and we can show you all of the hidden passageways here in City Hall and the amazing artwork that's been around for quite a long time. So my name is Dana Moore. I'm going to move our agenda this evening. We are here for the Sisson Street Task Force meeting. I'm going to move this more to the front of the agenda than the back because I just got a lesson as we were all gathering. I have been calling this the Sisson Street Transfer Station. I'm not going to steal his thunder, but Alan Robinson, who's the Deputy Director of the Department of Public Works, said, Dana, you got to stop saying that. It's not a transfer station. I'm like, what do you mean? So hey, just buckle your seatbelts. We're all going to learn together. I want to start with, again, welcoming you to City Hall. Our purpose, this is just an organizational meeting so that the task force members, one, so that you can all see each other's faces. That's why we're in a square, so everybody can see everybody. Introduce yourselves, understand, that you're going to be working together as a task force, go over the mission, purpose. We are going to talk a little bit about the city ethics obligations that you all have as members of a task force. Talk a little bit about each of your expectations of this work and why you're agreeing to do this work, which is really, really good work, important work, hard work. We will be selecting a task force chair and a task force vice chair, not presupposing anything, but I do think task forces like this work really, really well when there's a city person, which I'm a city person, meaning City Hall, and a community person, because you get those really two perspectives in the lead. And then as you see the agenda, we'll just kind of run through it. So do you want to add anything?
Just on behalf of my name is Khalil Zaid. I'm the Deputy Mayor for Operations for the City of Baltimore. On behalf of our mayor and the city as a whole, I wanted to welcome you all into City Hall and to this magnificent task that we're going to be working together in order to get to the best solution possible for the city. Thank you.
All right. Why don't we start with just the introduction of the task force members. I was asked to give you some ground rules, and here they are. They're really simple. One, the standard, mute your phones, please. We have, I think, enough microphones, but not one for everybody, even though everybody is going to be speaking. So please wait until you have a microphone in front of you to speak, and share the mic, pass it around as we go. And let's get going. I will, creature of habit, I like clockwise, so we'll be going this way, okay? All right, you know me, Dana Moore, City of Baltimore.
Khalil Zaid, Mayor's Office.
Right. I'm Councilwoman Odette Ramos, representing the 14th District. Sisson, the current site is literally on the border between the two districts abut each other, right underneath the site. So I'm happy to be a part of this process.
Councilman Torrance, representing the 7th Council District.
Sandy Sparks, the Friends of the Jones Falls.
Judd Weeks, Executive Director of Bikemore.
I'm Kevin McCartney. I'm representing the Charles Village Civic Association, and I'm also going to be representing the Charles Village Community Benefits District.
Hi, my name is Samantha Horn. I'm the Secretary for the Greater Remington Improvement Association, GRIA.
Hello, I'm John Ellsbury, and I'm representing the Stonehill Neighborhood Association.
I'm Mary Ann Henderson, representing Midtown Benefits District, and I represent Bolton Hill, Charles North, Mount Vernon, and Madison Park.
Good evening. I'm Keandra Pryor, representing the Reservoir Hill Association.
My name is Blaze Ahern. I'm representing the Hamden Community Council.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Councilman Jermaine Jones, representing District 12. And good evening, everyone. Alan Robinson, Deputy Director for the Department of Public Works.
Okay, just one real quick clarification, just because we're, it's official. Just want to make it clear that we welcome the Charles Village Community Benefits District as a potential speaker if they wanted to come in and testify, but they are not technically a member of the task force. I get it. I live on Guilford Avenue. I'm Charles Village all the way, right, Sandy, as well. But they're not a technical, they're not actually a member of the task force. I just want to make that really, really clear. So I'm going to hand it over to Deputy Mayor Zaid to talk about the mission of the task force.
Again, good evening, everyone, and thank you again for being here. I'm going to be very, very quick. This is an opportunity for all of us to, with the mayor direction, for all of us to look for the best possible solution for the issue that was at hand. And I understand we had a lot of conflicting ideas and how to proceed with this one. We spoke to the mayor, and the mayor said, let the community decide, and let the communities decide. And we're hoping that by the end of this discussion, we're going to end up with a solution, whether we keep it where it is, we move it, or we shut it down and don't replace it. And this task force will make that recommendation to our mayor on what is the best solution moving forward. Thank you.
So there's there's one member that's not here tonight. Her name is Valerie Matthews, and really, really looking forward to her joining us. She represents, she is an employee of the Department of Public Works, but she really is a member that represents the workers. And we felt that we really very, very much needed the workers' voices. I'm sorry she's not here tonight, but she will be with us at the next meeting. Speaking of the next meeting, unless something changes, it is October 27, and we'll be across the hall in the council chamber where we will take testimony. In council chamber, yeah. So, and we will be taking public testimony for that. I asked Chris Omberger to come and talk briefly about what it means to be a task force commission member for the city of Baltimore and what the obligations are that come from that. So Chris, handing it over to you.
Thank you very much. And I think you said the word briefly, so I will dispense with my introduction into the Sermon of the Mount, Thomas Aquinas, and Immanuel Kant's Critique of Pure Reason, and go straight into the Baltimore City Ethics Law. My name is Chris Amberg, and I serve as the director of the Ethics Board. The board consists of 5 members. At least the law requires 5 members. We currently have a vacancy that meets, the board meets once a month, every second Wednesday of each month. And the public part is open to the public. It usually occurs through Teams, and all previous meetings are available on our YouTube channel. The ethics law of Baltimore City is really more a disclosure law, or at least the central part of it is a disclosure law. Now that you are part of this task force, the Baltimore City Code is very generous in considering you both a public official and an employee. You may have no compensation, you may have no benefits, but your role comes with considerable obligations that the ethics law poses for you. Again, the central concern of the ethics law is to disclose interests, and interests is not your general political interests or anything else that you want to know more about, but it is financial and economic interests. That means if you own part of a business, that requires to be disclosed. If you have income, your employer, at least the name of the employer and the address of the employer needs to be disclosed, not just of yourself, but also your spouse, your children, and your parents. It is rather intrusive in that way to give to the public as complete a view on what might be your motivation, what might be your interests economically in your position, in your activities on behalf of the city. The law also requires that the ethics board make that information available to the public. The law only requires to make it available for copying on request during reasonable office hours or during normal office hours. The city has established a far more accessible platform electronically that provides your information minus your residential address to the public. If you have concerns of any kind, please talk to me about it. Again, we want to follow the law and really put you in the position to be in full compliance with the law, but just contact me. My email address is chris.amberger, AMBERGER, @baltimorecity.gov. And at Ethics, we have a rule that I stole from the soccer coach of my children many, many years ago. First time, right away, nicely. So whenever you send us a query or you have a question or whatever, we will respond to you that very day, ideally within a few hours, but certainly before close of business. So this is the disclosure is an annual obligation that disclosure has to be provided before April 30th of every year. As new employees, in quotation marks, you have to file an entry statement which asks the same information as the annual disclosures do. It's just that you check a different box in the form, and you find all the forms, everything at the website, which is ethics.baltimorecity.gov. And again, we have resources there. There's always, during office hours, there's someone who will pick up the phone, who will respond to an email, be that myself or one of my two assistants. In addition to the annual disclosure or entry form, which you have to, entry statement, which you have to file within the first 30 days of your appointment. There's also a conflicts affidavit that you should provide to us. It requires you to sign off that you have taken the ethics course, which also conveniently is on that website. And once you have gone through the videos that we have and answered a couple of very simple questions, we're notified of it. You can enter that date on the affidavits form, on the conflict affidavit form, and everyone will be happy. There are a few more aspects to the law: secondary employment and post-employment. Really, what it boils down to is common law, agency law. The city, for purposes of city business, is going to be your primary employer. And anyone else, including yourself, including any business that you may have been running for 20 years, is going to be your secondary employer. That all just will be obvious in the disclosures. The only sticking point, really, that I have seen in the past is in post-employment situations. Let's say you have been serving here on the task force on a very specific program or a very specific subject matter. You cannot go and then work for the other party. You cannot switch sides on the same project. You can work on contracts or renewals of contracts that are not the same as the one that may have been put in place, but you cannot switch sides and serve a secondary employer for money in the same position that you worked for the city. And the last that I will be leaving you with is the prestige of office prohibition. So prestige of office, and my general example for this is, so as part of the Office of the Inspector General, we get those cool shield badges. That's why I took the job. After the state's attorney's office, my wallet felt too light. So what is prestige of office? Very, very simply, I get pulled over by BPD in Baltimore City for speeding, which of course never happens. And I get asked for my driver's license and registration, and I end up making a presentation. Officer, let me see if I can get at my driver's license here, in the hopes that the shield is being seen and I get out of the ticket, which is an economic benefit to me. This, in short, is the nature of the prestige of office violation. Now that you are a member of the task force, you have to wield this power with care and make sure that you do not leverage it for your own financial benefit or that of another. Again, I'm always available for questions, and I'm also making my personal cell number available, 410-790-8033, and anytime, any reasonable time, I will pick up and talk to anyone who has a question. Thank you so much, and have a good evening.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Chris? Sure. Just say your name first, please.
Should be on. Hello.
It's on.
We're not being paid, so we're not employees.
No, under the ethics law, you are an employee.
Okay.
Yeah, we're very generous with that. And inclusive.
Sure.
Okay. 410-790-8033.
Yeah, any other questions? So we will take the lead in getting you the documents that you need to fill out. We'll just send them by email. You can do it all online. It's really, really easy. It might sound a little intrusive, but it's really not. And it's the kind of thing that just keeps us all safe. If you want to look at the packet, I did print, it's kind of long. I'll just pass this around. Let's start on that side. So you can see it's not stapled together, but.
Most of the material in those forms is an explanation of the law and of the specific terms and items that you're requested to provide.
Yeah, I mean, it is a lot of information, but most of it is like you just take a quick look. The forms are very, very simple, but Chris is available to help if needed. I'm available. My work cell is 443-610-6761. I think you all have my work email. So totally accessible. This is just such an important part of the process. But once we're done, you're done for like a year. So any other questions before we move on? Okay. I'm going to go a little bit out of order. I very much want Deputy Director Robinson to talk with us about the difference between a transfer station, which is what I've been saying, and a citizen's drop-off. And then we will go into, I want to talk about your expectations out of this task force. So,
all right, thank you for that, Dana. And you also have the document in front of you called the residential drop-offs, correct? All right, so just wanted to make a key note of distinction, all right? We continue to kind of conflate the two terms of transfer station when we are referring to Sisson Street. Sisson Street is not a transfer station. While we are transporting debris that is collected there, it is a citizen drop-off or a convenience center for folks to actually drop off bulk, electronics, additional waste that you may have at home. When we talk about a transfer station, I want you to think about Northwest Transfer Station. Northwest Transfer Station is actually designed to receive refuse from smaller packers or folks who are collecting in the city, and they're dropping it on an actual waste floor to be sorted. That requires a different type of regulation for what we're doing there, whereas at the citizen drop-off, which is Sisson Street, you're actually bringing your waste, you're dropping it directly into a can, and then it's being transported. There is no compaction that is happening at a citizen drop-off center. So hence, there is less runoff opportunity at a citizen drop-off center than you will have at a transfer station. I just wanted to make sure we were clear on that distinction of what we're doing. We're bringing material to Sisson Street, it's being dropped into a container, that container is then being transported to another location. Whereas a transfer station actually has a MRF floor where you're dropping materials, the packers come in, they offload their materials onto the floor. Now we do have convenience center areas within those transfer stations, meaning when you come in, you're dropping your stuff into a container. But the difference is that we don't actually have packers coming to Sisson Street to offload the material that they've collected from residential trash collections. So just wanted to make sure that we were clear on that distinction. We are focusing on a convenience center where communities can go and conveniently drop off their material to be transported to another destination.
I have a question. Thank you, Director. I have been the one using transfer station. But I think that the distinction is helpful. It's clearly not a dump either, so we want to be that clear. The question I had, though, is just to hopefully you've already started taking care of this in your new role, but on the DPW website, it's 5 different names. It's a recycling center, it's a drop-off, it's a transfer station, it's a something, something, something. So we should just make sure that it's super clear on the on the DPW website as well. I think we even had an issue with one of the flyers said recycling center, and I was like, it's not just for recycling, it's for other things. So if we can do that fairly quickly so that we can, just be clear, that would be great. And then, Director, are you going to be going over this residential drop-off centers with us? Is that part of what you're doing today, or because I have a question on this too?
I could do that. That was not what I was necessarily under the impression of, but I have no problem with us going over that conversation at the appropriate time. So if that's something we want to do, we can do that.
We can do it now if that's...
Sure. Okay. So everybody's got this in front of them, the residential drop-off centers from the website. I just had a question about the York Road site. It's not on here?
The what?
The York Road.
Or is York Road considered something different?
It is a convenience center.
Okay.
However, as you note, we're not currently always open at that location because it's actually also for a work site for deployment of different crews coming out of there. So we do offer a convenience drop-off there. Still not a transfer center. It is a convenience drop-off when it's available. But I'll make sure that that gets updated on here to reflect the actual hours that are over at York Road.
Yeah, I mean, I know that we also use it as a place where when it snows, the plows go there because the line goes all the way down to my district. And so it's like one of a couple of sites for the plows. But anyway, I just wanted, if we're going to utilize some baseline information, just to have more understanding of all of the sites that are currently drop-off sites or, DPW facilities, let's say.
Yes, so I would consider York a DPW facility that we might utilize as a convenience center or convenience drop-off.
Yeah, I think
but I'll clarify what that looks like in upcoming documentation for us.
Great. Okay. Thanks. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. I thought it would be helpful if we just went around the table and talked about everyone's expectations for the task force. And the reason I thought that would be important is everybody comes to this table, I think for a shared purpose, but perhaps with different ideas or purposes or values. And you are one task force with one mission, and I want to talk today about kind of like what your thinking is about this work and how we can make sure that we keep everything in alignment and focused and moving towards the goal, which is to get a really good recommendation to the mayor. So I'm going to go counterclockwise and just ask you to share, or if you just want to raise your hand, yeah, I mean, Blaze, if you want to start.
Yeah, I can start.
Okay.
Expectation for the task force? I guess my expectation for this task force basically is for us to work collaboratively and for folks to, rather than think about why something can get done or think about how can we get something done and kind of look at things from a perspective of accomplishing things rather than not accomplishing stuff. So that's it. And everyone have an open mind.
To the same point, I would like to see this panel make a decision for not necessarily for their own interests of their own community, perhaps, but for the greater good of the city as a whole. Also, I think just looking at the agenda here, can we move the selection of task force chair to like the end? Because I think that it's important to hear some of this other stuff before we choose a chair.
My expectation is to certainly collaborate and make a decision that is in the best interest of the city, and to listen to other people's perspectives on the issue and hopefully come up with a solution that works for everyone.
I would say my expectations would basically be making sure that the different communities are heard, that their concerns are addressed, and I think some of the concerns I think you've heard about already, like environmental concerns. Obviously, we want to still have some convenient drop-off place as well. So I think that we're trying to pull all of that together. I'm too close to the other one. Okay.
There you go.
Okay. So basically that, we take into account all the different concerns that will be expressed here and then come up with a solution that we can all go away with and feel like we did a good job.
Thank you. If you could just state your name before you talk. Mary Ann Henderson, Keandra prior to that, Blaze Ahern, Councilman Jones, and now John Ellsbury.
John Ellsbury, and I represent the Stonehill Neighborhood Association, and like other people have mentioned, we're interested in the environmental impact of either moving the drop-off station to a new location or keeping it where it is. I think a lot of people where we are would like to see it stay where it is. And also trying to avoid moving it to Falls Road, where they've already talked about new location.
Thank you, John. Samantha Horn.
Hi, Samantha Horn. I'm with GRIA. I echo the sentiments, and I look forward to a collaborative and transparent process. And I look forward to hearing a little bit more about the history of the research that went into the proposals so that we can make really informed decisions.
Kevin McCartney, Charles Village Civic Association. I'm hoping to ensure the best outcome for the city, for Charles Village, and also the DPW workers that have to work at the site, whether it stays where it is upgraded there, or moves to another location. I think that's something that's important to keep in mind as well while we go through this process. I also think that we would like to see it be in a more well thought out place than perhaps the Jones Falls location that was proposed at one point. All right.
Thank you, John. Kevin, thank you.
I have the mic in my hand now. So, Jed Weeks, Executive Director of Bikemore. I think residential drop-off centers, transfer stations can come with negative externalities for communities. I know Remington feels that. I think that's why lots of other communities do not want a facility in their neighborhood. I just want to, from the Bikemore perspective, we want to ensure that people walking or biking or waiting for public transit, they're going to experience increased truck traffic wherever this may go, are safe.
Okay, thank you, Jed. Sandy Sparks.
Sandy Sparks, the Jones Falls watershed, friends of. All of us are in the Jones Falls watershed. And so I come here representing the whole section of the city, draining into the inner harbor, very concerned about the environmental impact, and have a long history of supporting recycling in Baltimore City from its earliest days when we had sites, volunteer-driven sites for people to come on Saturday mornings to drop off their recycled glass and plastics. So I'm very keen on us having a good site, not in the Jones Falls floodplain, and also a site that's central, convenient to all of Baltimore to come to the center of the city, which is one of the benefits of where it is, and working collaborative to help support and build a really welcoming site that's convenient not only to the users, but to the employees.
Thank you. Councilman Torrance.
Thank you. Councilman Torrance, the 7th District. So my approach is very clear to be objective, but I also represent the interests of my residents who are very clear, not in a black neighborhood, not just in Fallsburg, but also making sense for what our city needs. Sisson Street accounts for 40% of our refuge, and I know what happens when it closes, that it ends up in black and brown neighborhoods, and I just want to make sure it doesn't. But I also am empathetic to Jed and Greer, because as someone who lived there briefly, when it was hot, you could smell Sisson Street in your neighborhood. So I serve multiple roles, but empathy is the first and foremost at the forefront for me.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman.
I'm going to use this one because
yeah. Here, I'll
pull it up like this. Okay. I'm looking at Charm TV, trying to get guidance on holding the microphone. Again, Councilwoman Ramos, 14th District. I'm looking forward to learning a lot and expecting that we will learn a lot from each other, but also from residents who will testify before us in subsequent meetings. And understanding and getting deeper into every option so that we're making the best decision. But also hoping that, and challenging myself also to really keep an open mind so that we can make sure that we're making the best decision with the criteria that my colleague just talked about, which is we've already committed to not putting it in a black neighborhood, making sure that it's close by, and not closing Falls Road. So with those in mind, I think we can still come up with a good option for our city and also meet the needs of residents who need this. But we also need to and I hope that the task force will look not just at the short term, but also long term, because we should be thinking about 10 years from now as well as we go forward in this particular discussion.
And Deputy Director Robinson.
All right. So I share the sentiment with everyone around the table. This should be a collaborative conversation. It should be an educational conversation. We are looking for solutions. We want to make sure that we are discussing things that can be viable for the entire city and not just one individual community. At DPW, our role is to be supportive of the community needs, and that's what we're here to hear, what the community is looking to do. Whether that is stay at the current location, whether that is moving it, or if that is ultimately closing it. That is a decision that's going to be made during the discussion and getting input from the communities throughout this entire process. And then we will share that recommendation with the deputy mayor and the mayoral staff to make that ultimate decision. But our goal is to, and my goal is to just collect all of the information, hear all of the sides, and making sure we are considering and being very transparent in the decisions that we are making. So.
Okay, any additional comment from, oh, why don't you hold on to that? Any additional thoughts? So one of the themes that we all share, all of you share, is really getting information. And so I want to jump on the agenda and ask you, who do you want to hear from? There are a lot of stakeholders, I think, across the city. Most of them are not here. We purposely kept the task force to an odd number so that if there is a dispute, it wouldn't be evenly split. And we also asked the council persons for the names of organizations within their district. But there's a lot of other people and other interests that we should hear from, I think. So I wanted to go around the room again and have y'all share, who do you want to hear from? Because we do have the ability to bring in subject matter experts. We have absolutely, we will be opening the invitation to come in next week to testify. But we also will be having meetings, if you all agree, where it's just y'all and the public. These will always be public meetings, but where you will have someone come in and talk about the environment, particularly what does it mean to have a recycling center next to a body of water? How do we do all this? So let me hand it back to y'all. Who do you want to hear from? And then we will get busy extending invitations to them to come here and talk with you. So Marianne had her hand up first. Sure.
Obviously, we have certain agencies that we expect from you to come in, the DBW, the DOTs, if you need the planning department, anything else within the city agency. We'd love for those people to come in, and they'll be coming in and present per your request. What Ms. Moore was referring to, anything beyond that. So anything else beyond that, we'll be happy to also honor and acknowledge as well.
So my question was going to be, are you talking about state agencies as well as federal agencies as well, like Army Corps of Engineers, somebody like that?
So we don't have jurisdiction over them, but we will extend the invitation.
Okay, so in other words, so it's state or federal agencies. Okay, that was the clarification.
Yeah, and while you're thinking, there's a short list of the agencies that will be available to you all. So clearly the Department of Public Works, the City Department of Transportation, who some of you have already heard from, the city's Department of Planning. If there's a decision to move the site, there are so many steps that this Department of Planning imposes. So you might want to hear from them, and they're available. Obviously, the Office of the Mayor, which is my office. We also would be inviting the Office of Performance and Innovation to come in. They collect a lot of data. They have a lot of statistics. They can be helpful with that. If in fact there is a decision to go forward and sell the site, we will be working with the Department of Finance. We will be working with the Comptroller's Office and the Law Department. If y'all make the decision or the recommendation that the property should be sold, you will want to hear from them as to what does that mean and how does that happen and what are the steps for that. So those are the city agencies that I think have high stakes for this task force. Also, the Department of Housing and Community Development. They are all primed, ready, anxious to come in and talk with you. Who else do you want to hear from?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Sure. That might be easier if you could get that off. I couldn't get it off.
That's fine.
Can I maybe use my
One more thing I'd like to mention. So for our benefits of the team as we go through, one thing that is mentioned throughout as we look at different sites, I want it to be clear that is the mayor in agreement with the other two council members as any location that we think of, it can be in a black neighborhood. So we'll have that clear as we think of other locations. The mayor made it very clear, very concise. So as we look for locations and we think about sites, if that's the approach we want to take, not to get to that point. So that point I want it to be on the table and very clear moving forward. Thank you all.
Okay. I just had a general question because when we were I attended the meeting in August at Druid Hill Park, and I believe it was either Calvin or yourself had mentioned that moving this site was not on the radar, it was not on the agenda at all until I imagine someone made an offer for that land as part of a bidding process or something else like that. Are you at any point going to disclose who wants to buy the Sisson Street station? Is that even something that's in the cards? Or, I mean, I believe everyone kind of knows it's a not well-kept secret that's why the city wants to move this site. Is that correct?
Yeah, I can answer that from my perspective in City Hall and as former DBW director when the process came to me. It wasn't who was going to buy the site, it was the ability or the potential for us at DBW to provide a new facility for our employees at DBW. So that is from perspective that I've always known.
Sure.
Yeah.
Where's that money coming from?
If it's obviously for selling that location, yeah. So definitely from selling that location.
So
how they sell it and who sell it to.
Potential buyer? Or
I'm
no?
sorry?
Is there a potential buyer or is this just in the ether?
At the time, like that land is a valuable land, and if you put it out for sale, it's going to provide money. Whoever buy it, as far as we're concerned at DBW, it really is not important for us. Is the money or the revenue that comes in from that location that allows us to provide a new facility for DBW workers.
And it was expressed that would be a net neutral event. So how much is the land worth?
I don't know that yet.
If it would be okay, I'd like to get back to the question that I posed to have you all share who you would like to hear from in terms of subject matter experts. And the reason why I want to get back to that is as soon as we are done, we will start the process of inviting those people to come and speak with you. If there's nobody, say that. But Jed, you had your hand up, and would just like to start getting those names.
Jed Weeks with Bikemore. I think sort of two things. One, I would love to see Blue Water Baltimore represented, given that they, do all of their Jones Falls Valley work down there. I also think we might need to come back to this when we talk about sort of other potential sites, because there might be subject matter experts or other communities or things like that we would want to hear from if there are other site potentials that DPW or the city has explored.
All right, so I heard Blue Water Baltimore. Is that it for you? It's Sandy. Wait, I apologize. Councilwoman Ramos, then Sandy, then James Torrance.
Thank you. I do think that that list will probably need to be iterative, just because of the point that Jed was making, that as we explore other sites, we'll need somebody. Obviously, you already talked about DPW, but specifically about like going over, if we don't go over it today, which I think we should, sort of the history of how we even got here, the finances, all of that, I think will be super helpful from a background perspective for us. And then in terms of other subject matter experts, I think that I certainly want to hear from the workers as well, and very clearly about what their needs are and what they're asking for. And then again, I think it also depends on the sites that we might see. We might need to hear from the neighborhoods that might end up being impacted by that selection. I think that would be important, if they're not represented, here. There's also an association of the benefits districts, I think. So I know one of the benefits districts is here. I know that all of them, I think, use Sisson, so we may want to hear from them directly. Yeah. They're already going to testify. Okay. Thank you.
I just wanted to reinforce inviting Blue Water Baltimore to speak, and perhaps the Chesapeake Bay Alliance to clarify how we all sit within Chesapeake Bay and how important it is that we handle our trash well.
I would like to see if we can invite the Department of Real Estate, one, to discuss the actual sale process, not the amount, but the sale process, so that we can, if we do make a recommendation to sell the property, we have a clear guidelines from this body what that sale process will look like, what the expectations for that sale will look like, and the requirements for it. That way, if we do it and the bill moves forward, we know as publicly that that was discussed and the public had input into what it looked like. I also like to have a conversation with MDE, because ultimately if MDE, the Maryland Department of Environment, because if anything does move, it's going to require permitting anyway. So we should have them at the table to at least tell us what that looks like, so that people understand that when you do have these sites, there are requirements that are needed, so that we can have people understand the implications of what a move looks like.
Councilman Jones.
One thing I would like for us to consider is that I know when we first brought up the idea of relocation, this was a conversation that was had a long time ago. So there was like research done of potential other locations and from other departments to kind of look. Wondering if we can get that information, get those departments in, and go to show what work was done previously, so we all can get to a level set base of what kind of got us here to where we are today. I think that'll be tremendously helpful, because I know some of that happened before I was even in office. So thank you.
Okay, great. Keandra?
Thank you. Keandra Pryor. I would also add, in the vein of the history, it would be helpful to understand, because it sounds like at one point Sisson Street didn't exist and it was put in place to solve a problem. So just an understanding of that history of what problem it was solving, why it was chosen to be there, and just having a general sense of what it was like before it existed, so we can have a sense of whether it makes sense to keep or lose, or what impact it would have to the city.
He says he can't hear you.
This is Kevin McCartney from Charlottesville Civic Association. I want to know if there was a list of properties that were considered in the current round of relocation talks. What are those properties are still available, and is there, what is the process for adding properties to that? Is there a list of city-owned properties, or are there available properties that we need?
Okay, great. Any other thoughts? John?
John Ellsbury from Stonehill Neighborhood Association. I'd just like to say, I haven't heard too much mention about Seawall, which is the potential buyer for the property, and I think that somebody should represent them. And also, there's the developer KLNB, which has a very elaborate website called Remington Station with a lot of drawings and proposals for that site already. And just wondering how inevitable it is that the property is going to be sold.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
Blaze Ahern, Hamden Community Council. I would also like to reiterate Blue Water Baltimore to hear from them. I'd also like to hear from perhaps the Waterfront Partnership.
Okay.
I would just want to add one other thing in that, in the spirit of where the list was, to also hear not just from the neighborhoods and the neighborhood associations in the area, but the business community in the area as well. So I think that's, we don't have one here, so just want to make sure that they're also included in the conversation.
Okay, excellent. Any other thoughts around the table? In setting up the task force, there were two organizations that that we didn't include that you all are identifying. One is Blue Water Baltimore, and I think that if we could have them come in, pretty early on, even if they, I don't know whether they want to just testify next week or come in as your, as an expert presentation, or maybe both. But I think an immediate invitation to Blue Water Baltimore is in order. We also got some communications. I want to say is it the Hamden Village Merchants Association? They reached out as well, and I'd like to put those two with y'all's agreement. I'm not on the task force, but I'm supporting you. But if we could get them in pretty early, I think that would really go a long way. And then I'm hearing definitely environmental. I'm hearing history, that there's a lot of interest in knowing the history. Definitely there's a whole section where we could cluster real estate finance, so it's the Office of the Comptroller, the Department of Real Estate, the developers. They maybe would come the same time, but I'm seeing that as a theme. Definitely community, hearing from more communities about what this means. The Chesapeake Bay Alliance kind of clusters with Blue Water Baltimore. List of properties that were considered and that are still available to here. I just want to reiterate, there were sites that were considered that we have absolutely taken off the table because they are in communities that are primarily Black, brown, and under not given or historically disinvested. Those are not on the table. They are taken off the table. They're not coming back. And we will be really clear about that as we go forward. And also, it is not an option that Falls Road be closed. So that is very, very clear. We heard that loud and clear, so that's not an option. Yeah. Thank you, Sandy. I've known Sandy for 23 years. She has never clapped for me before, ever, ever, ever. So I feel like I'm winning here. All right, Councilman Torrance.
Thank you. So, because I have a large number of residents who have asthma, I just want to make sure that we have DOT do a presentation on the truck route to say how would our routes be impacted, because if you're picking up trash and you have to go through neighborhoods where people are impacted by asthma, that is a concern for me as well. So I just want to make sure that we're planning, when we think about the location, we think about how we impact the neighborhoods that it has to go through.
Yeah, that's a good point. And then I'll get you, one of the things that I've noticed just, because I live near there, just sometimes you'll be on Sisson Street. You cannot get through Sisson Street in either direction because of the heavy utilization of that site. It's very, very popular. And so the traffic flow, definitely we need to hear from transportation about how that gets managed. And I forgot, Samantha, we haven't heard from. It was a Samantha, Sandy, and then Marianne. So Samantha, Sandy, then Marianne.
Sure. I just wanted some clarification. When you referenced Blue Water Baltimore and the Merchants Association, was that for giving presentations or was that for joining the task force?
Really, either. I think both.
Just a presentation.
Oh, just a presentation.
Presentation,
No, the task. This is the task force.
This is the task
Okay,
force.
just
y'all are
thank you.
We're not going to expand.
Got it. Yeah, the history and the real estate, I'd say, are probably the top two things right now from Remington. I know a lot of sites have been presented, and we believe you, but we also want to see it.
Sure.
Sandy.
I honestly don't believe it's all that productive to go back and rehash what's kind of past, and I feel like we're here to move forward. And I do believe we do need some business representation. That was clear from our meeting in Hamden. But I really would like us to dwell on, we've already achieved not having it on Falls Road. So How great is that? So I think we need to be thinking about, no, we didn't.
No closing of Falls Road, the closing of the street itself.
Well, that is tremendously important. That was like.
So I lost the applause from Sandy Sparks. So to clear, it's okay. A decision has not been made to not place the site on Falls Road. It is very clear that there is a decision to not close Falls Road. That is for traffic.
Okay.
Yeah. So I apologize.
Well, I think that was real clear. So, but I do believe that we need to think in terms of going forward and consider what is a practical possibility. Not spend a lot of time rehashing what was a lot of speculative stuff. So I'm looking forward to, and we have a quick timeline, so we really don't have time to go back and, who struck John? We don't need that. So that's my sentiment.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I just have one more question. This is my own ignorance. What city agency actually looks at environmental impact? How is that accomplished?
So for the city, a lot of that comes through the Department of Planning and the Department of Public Works. Both of them. I'll let you answer.
In our perspective, from the city perspective, we have two parts. One is the Department of Public Works, and a lot of you know Kim Burgess, some you don't, but she runs the environmental aspect of the organization for us, and then obviously the Office of Sustainability and in the planning department as well that they look at that aspect as well. But regardless of what you do, it is required an MDE approval of anything that we do.
That was my question. I think Blaise said that. So Maryland Department of Environmental.
Is essential in anything that we do.
They would have to go, they have to
Yes.
review it. Okay, thank you.
And I think that you would enjoy hearing from the city's Office of Sustainability. That's led by a lady by the name of Ava Richardson, and we can get her in. It's Keandra.
I don't know how to phrase this or who the expert would be, but in my mind, I'm wondering who would be best positioned to help us through a cost-benefit analysis of each scenario. Whether that's someone from a university or someone from a city agency. I'm just seeing that there are a lot of different ways that we can approach understanding that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, unless it's very clear difference, it's very hard to get a cost analysis. I say it as an engineer. It is to provide a very precise cost analysis, unless you look at two sites and the two sites look completely different, where, for example, one has a history of environmental issues that exist, and remediation of that will cost a lot of money, and it does cost a lot of money. That's one thing. Second thing is a lot of earthwork that need to be done. Let's say you have two sites, one that has, it's hills and earthwork, a lot of earthwork that needs to be completed and moved. That is another issue that it needs to be looked at. But unless the two sites are, if you're comparing two sites, unless the two sites are really different, it's very hard to come. And actually the cost will be very minimal because we're all in the same geographical area.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is, it sounds like we're working through three scenarios. One, keeping it as is.
Yes.
Two, closing altogether. And three, finding a new site.
That's right.
So for us to determine which is the best move, before we even get to if we're going to move it or not, it would be helpful to understand through a set of variables what the actual costs and benefits of doing each would be. So, for example, in my head, if there are serious environmental costs that Blue Water Baltimore exposes of keeping it at Sisson because of water rise or whatever, that we keep that in mind for the other two proposals as well, so we can weigh them.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that would be possible. I'm just saying it would be deeply helpful just to keep us on target with making the decision. And then the other thing I'm thinking in my head, because in a previous discussion, when the move was sort of on the table, or a very specific move, there was lots of discussion of the cost of rent versus owning the land, which is a huge difference for the city. So just kind of being able to lay that out and kind of see it would be extremely helpful, I think, for the task force.
And I think we can get to some of those details the moment we define locations and we define options. I think that will be, open for us to see what are the options are. And we'll be happy to provide whatever we can.
Thanks, Jed Weeks. I just wanted to second what Keandra said, but I also sort of had a process question here. Since Falls Road is apparently still on the table, but we've taken off the safety improvements the city said were required to create a safe Falls Road, which was a point closure of Falls Road. Just as an example, we're saying that's not on the table. So we're coming into a meeting where there's predetermined outcomes here for certain sites, right? We're saying we cannot close a portion of Falls Road to through traffic. We just said that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we cannot do a point closure of Falls Road. Why? Why is that something that we are predetermined in saying no? Why is there not DOT coming in and giving us expert testimony on why that is a good or bad idea? Why are we just determining that before we're coming into the meeting? And I ask that because I know the vast majority of public input that was received by the city was actually in favor of that point closure. And so it was, and I don't understand why it would differ here.
No, it was not. It was not.
It was absolutely not.
It was not.
I'm happy to take that.
It would be great then if we could also get that, just for an example, if we could get a summary of that testimony, all of the emails received for and against, something like that. I would like to see the history of the conversation around that site and the public input that came into it to begin with, because it does feel like we're giving, we're saying in this case, we have these predetermined outcomes for this site, but we're also leaving the site on the table, and I don't really understand why we would do that.
So we actually don't have predetermined decisions about the site. We do have a decision that we are not going to close Falls Road. That's not going to happen. As I recall, that when we had the meeting in August in Druid Hill Park, this was a meeting that really was about DPW and what it needed to do. The table that had the most activity was Department of Transportation, and the most frequent comment was, how could you close Falls Road? And this was based on actual experience during the pandemic when Falls Road was closed, and it caused a lot of problems. And we can actually have great success in terms of how we handle our trash and how we redevelop Falls Road and the Jones Falls and create a beautiful ecosystem and keeping Falls Road open. So that we took that off the table. That does not mean anything about the location of the Sisson Street. I'm still saying transportation station, about the Sisson Street location. It doesn't mean anything other than, and I want everybody to hear this, Falls Road will remain open. Everything else is fair game, open for discussion. We are going, y'all, I say we, but it's y'all, are tasked with making a decision that's best for Baltimore, but as city leaders and as government leaders with a duty to do what's best for Baltimore, it was very clear that that was a mistake to even consider closing Falls Road. So we're not going to do that.
Cool.
But everything else is open.
I hear you, but I'm saying that is a decision that is being made prior to the task force.
The decision is made.
Right.
The decision is made, and it's separate and apart from the task force. It's not a task force decision.
I hear you,
and it's not
but
going to be changed.
I hear you, and it's fine if it's not changed. Okay. What I'm trying to say is that there are safety considerations about the Jones Falls site and increased traffic. There is limited right-of-way on that road. There would need to be significant design considerations that we would need to address in order to have a site down there that could potentially involve the necessity of closing the street. And if we're saying, I'm just saying, if we're saying that we're not going to close the street and we're going to take that off the table, then we should take Jones Falls Valley off the table.
Right, and we do agree about the safety considerations, and those we're already committed to, and they're going to go forward. So let me move to Councilwoman Ramos.
Yep.
And then we're going to move, and then Samantha, and then we're going to move on to the next thing.
Right, and I appreciate this discussion. I think that whatever site we choose, we're going to have to look at all of those safety considerations as well for every mode, and also, because even if we keep the site where it is, because of the traffic that's happening right now, I mean, that's like super unsafe where it is right now. And so, you know, obviously the first tier, like priority, at least in my mind, is, you know, what is needed for the workers to be able to have the facilities that they need, that they deserve. And then obviously the convenience for the residents, but the safety considerations, whatever site we choose absolutely has to be part of it, and the mayor's office has been very clear that those are the things that will be, you know, put on the table, minus this one piece to make that happen.
Sure. I just wanted to echo the Keandra's comment and request that it sounds like there has already been a rubric or something from these historic sites. You've kind of mentioned some of these terms. Will we be provided those terms, and will we have the opportunity to revise them? Or is that just part of our recommendation process?
We looked at certain sites, and we will have DBW come in and present to you those sites that they looked at, and the and the pros and cons of those sites, and why we decided not to, or why we decided against some of those sites.
I know,
Okay.
I'm so sorry. Just one quick question. Is there a scenario in which we leave this task force with just selecting 1, 2, or 3, keep, remove, or recommending that a site is chosen, rather than leaving the room choosing a site? Just asking the question. Yes, there is a scenario. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Y'all would decide that together.
Okay.
Yep. So then we can just put the onus on that.
So I'm getting the signal. I want all of you to write down the swearing-in ceremony for you is scheduled for November 3rd, which is a Monday. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Well, happy birthday. We'll try to remember to bring cupcakes. Swearing-in ceremony is November 3rd at 11:30 a.m. It'll be right downstairs in the rotunda. You are more than welcome to invite family, friends, guests, whoever you would want to support you. It's a quick ceremony. And it'll happen after the mayor does a bill signing ceremony, and then you all will all come in. I'm hoping that all of you will be available.
It's a work day. Some of our residents, some of our folks are working.
If you can't come, let us know, and we'll do a second one. But if you can, even if it's your birthday, if you can come that morning, Monday, November 3rd at 11:30 a.m. If it doesn't work for you, just pop me a note. You've got my email. We'll figure it out.
Can we just show of hands who has a full-time job?
Okay, so even though you have a full-time job, if you can come on November 3rd, please do. If you can't, let me know, and we'll figure it out. Okay? All righty. I don't know, because you can't sign the book. Right, and the mayor will actually be doing the swearing in. He could, but right now, guys, the date is Monday, November 3rd, 11:30 a.m. in the rotunda of City Hall, and we very much hope that many of you can come. I'm getting the feeling from the room that not everybody can come, and we will figure it out. Okay? All right, and if nobody comes, I'm going to feel like the worst party planner ever. but just let me know. We'll figure it out. Also, just want to confirm again. So the next meeting, October 27. I don't know the time, but in council chamber, where we will take public testimony. Council persons, does that?
So
work?
We have a city council meeting that night. We do have a city council meeting that night. I don't anticipate that it's going to be long because we had one tonight that was fairly lengthy. It depends on how many bills are going to be introduced, but we moved a bunch of stuff along. So it would have to be sometime after 6 to give time for the council services to make the switch.
Would it work to start at 6 or 6:15, 6:30?
Something like that will be, because we've got to give council services and Charm TV time to make the switch. 6:30.
6:30? Okay, 6:30, October 27. Is that, yeah, and we'll get the notice out, and, obviously we'll be taking public testimony. And then we thought that...
I have a question. On the agenda, it does talk about potential sites for relocation. We weren't going through that today, or
I thought
you don't want
we
to...
would hold that for the next meeting.
For the next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. The 3rd, we don't have a council meeting. That's right. So we have a council meeting, just for your reference, we have a council meeting on the 27th, one on the 10th, one on the 24th, but the December dates, we do not have council meetings.
Trusting your judgment, if it would be better to change to November 3rd, November 17, to avoid the council hearings, that's fine.
I do think we run it, at least for me, I run into community meetings on the other Mondays. But
So leave it as
I'm
is.
happy to figure out. Yeah, that makes sense. But also, it is convenient for us if we continue to have it at City Hall where we're just already here.
This works. This works, and this gives me an opportunity just to thank Charm TV for setting up the room and Council Services for setting up the room. This is really comfortable. I like being able to see everybody. Charm TV is, to my left and at the back of the room, and they did a great job. And at the very back, setting up the room, they worked over the weekend to make sure that y'all had microphones and were comfortable. So thank you, Charm TV. Yes, a round of applause for all that you do. So the next meeting's October 27, November 10, November 24, December 8, December 22. As we move along, we'll talk about your report and your recommendation and what that looks like. Someone mentioned to me before we went on the record, do you really think that they'll be ready by December to make a recommendation to the mayor? I don't know. I think that you will, but if you're not, as we move along, I think we'll have to go back to the mayor and ask for more time. We're willing to do that. Blaze.
Yeah, I think he wants to move quickly, but he also wants us to be thoughtful. So I think, if we have to have time, we'll have to do that. We don't want to run too far into the legislative session.
Yeah, 100%. Blaze.
Sure. Yes, my question is, you're going to tell us about the potential sites for relocation at next meeting. Is there a possibility that you could send us an email or a briefing with those sites so that when you present them to us, we'll have a little bit of information so that we can ask pointed questions at that time?
Yeah, we can do that. And I got to tell you, I was actually kind of hoping that you all might have some sites in mind. That's why that's there, is just to hear if you all have ideas, no pressure. And it might just be way too soon, but
I've looked at the
both ways.
I've examined the city code maps just to see potential possible industrial sites or commercial zoning areas and things like that, hopefully that aren't in any neighborhoods, but it doesn't look like the golden egg exists. But knowing just what your potential sites are in advance will probably help us determine our potential sites as well.
And I would imagine, since we're having public testimony next time, that there will be residents that come with some ideas as well that we can add to the list of needs to be. Yep.
Okay, so I would like to leave with y'all having selected a chair and a vice chair.
I was going to say, before we have open discussion, I would like to make a recommendation for Councilwoman Odette Ramos to be chair. Thank you.
Okay, is there a second?
Second that.
Okay. Call the question. Nomination has been made for Councilwoman Odette Ramos to be the chair of the task force. It's been properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, calling the question. All in favor of Odette being chair, please raise your hand. Any opposition? Any abstention? Congratulations, Councilwoman. Did you vote for yourself, by the way?
Thank you all. I look forward to continuing the conversation and really moving this forward. I think we've got a really good group here, and I'm very much looking forward to it.
All right, next order of business is to nominate a vice chair. Is there a nomination?
I would like to nominate Samantha from the Remington neighborhood because they're the neighborhood most directly affected by the current Sisson Street location.
Okay, is there a second? Second. Samantha, any unreadiness?
I'm ready.
Okay, all right, I just want to make sure. All right, it has been properly moved and seconded that Samantha Horn serve as the vice chair for the Sisson Street Task Force. Calling the question, any discussion first? Calling the question, all in favor of Samantha Horn serving as vice chair, please raise your hand or say aye. All right, Samantha, you can vote for yourself. Yeah, all right. Any opposition? Any abstention? Congratulations, Samantha. You are the vice chair of the Sisson Street Task Force. All right, I'm going to hand it over to the chair now, Odette Ramos, just for an open discussion and then to close us out.
Thank you again, everyone, for joining us this evening. I think everybody had some great questions, and I'm sure tonight when you go back, you're going to be like, oh, I have this other question. Please send that over so that we can, especially as you're thinking about how we want to move forward. I definitely want your suggestions on process and all of that. I think that will be really helpful. If you think of anybody else that we want to hear from, please let us know as well. And any other information that you need. I think the finances are important. I think the environmental piece is important. I'm very much looking forward to hearing from the workers. I think that will be important as well. Before we close out, is there any other thoughts that you want to? We didn't go into the history too much of sort of how we got here. I'm happy to do that if that's something that you want me to do today. But also just hearing from others, what your thoughts are as we get ready for this work together.
Before I forget, I want to thank Kimi Washington, who is in the back, looking totally stunned.
Yeah.
Kimi comes in very quiet and leaves very quiet. But the reason that you have these beautiful tent cards is because Kimi made that happen. The pads of paper,
Ms. Kimi.
the water, the extras. Kimi is the Uber administrative person from the office of the mayor, and she's just a terrific partner in this work. So Kimi, thank you so much.
And not only this work, by the way, but a lot of work, yes, that happens in City Hall.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Should we leave these?
Oh, yes, please leave them so we don't have to.
Yeah.
Oh, did you?
So Kevin, you had something that you wanted to add?
Because I'm an employee now, right?
Okay.
I do think that maybe like a 3-minute, how do we get here would be great from you.
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, again, I want to just, thank everybody for being here. I want to just say that when I first became into office, this was about 5 years ago now, that there were some preliminary conversations already happening around thinking about moving the Sisson Street site. And part of it was the needs of DPW, as the deputy mayor said, but also the Remington plan had very specifically, their master plan very specifically talked about redevelopment of the area. And so there had already started to be some conversations about this under Mayor Pugh. So when I came in, the potential developer came and said, hey, we're thinking about doing this. And the first thing I said to him was, you got to talk to every single community association that uses this site. You know, you've got to talk about what you're thinking about. You've got to talk. And I attended those meetings as well. And one of the things that we heard very loud and clear from every single community association is that they like Sisson Street and want it close by. They do not, absolutely do not want to put this in a black neighborhood, particularly one that is been historically disinvested. And so to me, that was like the criteria there. Since then, there's been conversations. BDC has been working with the potential developer about the sale, and so there is, Mayor Pugh had made some decisions also with some conversation with some of the council members at the time about some locations, so we'll hear a little bit about that. And then sort of fast forward, some things were put on hold, COVID happened, that kind of thing. And so the new conversation started up again. And the councilman and I noticed that on one of the council agendas was the sale of the property. And Councilman Jones and I very much felt very strongly that we could not move forward on the sale of a property without a public meeting. And that's where the August meeting came up to talk about, you know, what the potential was going to be for moving the site. There had already been a lot of conversations with the Remington community about what a potential development would look like, which is appropriate because that is their community. And I represent an area too. And then that's when this potential around the Falls Road site came about. There was a lot of very intense and deliberate and very, I think, thoughtful feedback. And that's when the deputy mayor went to the mayor, and the mayor also said, like, let's just study this a bit more to be a lot more thoughtful and to also make sure that we're getting, you know, lots of input from all over, and particularly since this is a site that is the most popular. The Sisson Street site is the most popular used site. We love our crews there. They are amazing. The people that work there are great customer service. People love them, but they're not working in great conditions. And it's been the DPW and the mayor have been very clear that we've got to do much better for our workers, particularly in light of the death of Mr. Silver and several others. We have got to put an investment in the worker, in their facilities and in their workers. So Reed Bird is now closed. That is an actual transfer site where there's right. It's a transfer site, Reed Bird, or is it a drop off? It's a drop-off. Right. It's also a sanitation yard where our folks go to report to get their, you know, equipment and everything for the day. It's closed right now for renovations. And so we'll hear a little bit from DPW about what that renovation plan looks like for all of the sites and where Sisson fits in all of that as well, because it's a comprehensive thinking around not just the conditions for workers, but also sort of all of our waste. Obviously, we've got to think about it because, you know, we're running out of room in the landfill. There's many of us that want to close the incinerator. We've been talking a lot about zero waste, so how does that fit in? So I think that all of these conversations happening here in the public space, but also as we bring in testimony, we need to think through all of those things. So this is supposed to be a very thoughtful process. That's my very short version of how we got here, but this is one of the, and that's a lot of it from my perspective, so others might have some additional things to add. But again, this is not a conversation we just started having in August. This is something that's been going on for at least 5 or 6 years. And I think because we want to be very thoughtful about it, it's taken that long. But I am glad that because Sisson Street is a public facility, is a public good that we provide as a city, that we need to be thoughtful about the fate of that spot, but also take into consideration all of the various pieces. So I'm grateful to be working with all of you on this, and I hope that was helpful. Any questions for me? Okay, so let's go ahead and wrap up, and we'll see you all here, actually in the chamber in a week. And I appreciate your time here. We do need a motion to adjourn. Somebody move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
There you go. That's all you need. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
All right.